today we want to have a look at we started with that of open pit mines, and then we discussed a bit about it, and we discussed that we came to identify that open pit mine happened to be the second cheapest method in the extraction of metal minerals, but then it happened to be one of the largest, or give us the largest environmental impact, of which we discussed yesterday in detail. Then 12 o'clock knocked and we had to close the class. And so today we want to find out the basic concepts regarding mining, surface mining in general. So it says that although the basic concept of an open pit mine is quite simple, the planning required to develop a large deposit for surface mining is very complex and costly undertaking. So what we are trying to understand here is that, yes, when we say surface mine, open pit, it looks that simple, very easy for us. But then when we come to the fact that we want to plan, once we get to the planning stage to start our activities and make that profit as maximum as possible, just as we discussed earlier, that is where the hurdle, the hardship will then come in, because planning a mine is no joke. It becomes a very tough, challenging task for you to do. So it says that at one mine, it may be desirable to plan for blending variations in the ore so as to maintain as nearly as possible a uniform feed to the mill. You remember yesterday or so, we discussed that we have what we call the grade, which tells us the quality or the value of the mineral of interest in the deposit we are interested in. And so at some point in time, it might not be uniform across the entire ore body. So if I have the entire ore body as a block, let's assume it's a block for building, and then we realize that is the deposit for us. But then the mineral, which is the grade, that tells us the quality of or the value of the mineral we are interested in, assuming it is gold we are after or silver we are after. At some point of that same block, there might be the mineral of high value. In other sections, it will be less. In other sections, it will be medium. And sometimes, even depending on the company you are, that is where we then classify them as the high grade, low grade, medium grade, and all and whatnot. But then when we mine them in badges like that, in that classification, we try to sit down, the mine planners and the geologists and other people in session will try to calculate and come up with a medium or a way, a uniform, so that all the time we know that this is how much grade we are feeding to our mill. And so we are able to tell that at this point in time or at the end of the month, this is what we expect to be our weekly production or monthly production. This is how much ounces of gold we are going to get, because we have a uniform grade going through our mill. And so we begin the planning, and it is possible to start this all variations and begin to do the blending and other stuff in order to achieve. So if you are an operator and you are with us here, sometimes you'll be on a bench mining high grade, and all of a sudden the mine planners will come with an agenda that, okay, or your supervisor or leading hand will tell you, no, let's move to the other block and go and pick waste, or let's go to this block and go and pick low grade or something. And you begin to wonder, and then the movement, baby. So in actual sense, when there is some at the wrong part, and we realize that the quantity we need to do the blending, if we are short of a certain grade to make the uniform grade we are looking for, that is where those movement comes in, and then we mine them in that classes and compile or pile them at the stockpile, such that when we need them for the proper blending to get that uniform grade we are interested in, we proceed with it. And so it says that another operation, it may be desirable to complete separate kinds of ore, as for example, a low grade deposit where one kind of oxide ore must be treated by acid leach, but a second kind of sulfide one must be treated by different methods. So just like we said, the mineral component of the ore we are interested in, as in the chemicals or the elements that make up the mineral that we are interested in, may have certain difficulty when we come to the processing. And so when there is oxide, it becomes easy. A lot of companies will love that if their mineral elements, the components of their ore is oxide, because it is, per literature, they say it is easy to extract a mineral when the chemical composition is oxide. But then when we come to sulfide, that is where the trouble comes in. And so it will be challenging when you begin a mine. Per your earlier studies, you have realized that, okay, this is an oxide ore. And later on in the future of the mine, you realize that, oh, I've encountered some sulfide, so I have to change my plan. All of a sudden, changes must come in. Even when it's like that too, and you are mining, you need to even be careful regarding your waste you mine, how you used to dump this oxide, a sulfide might even be found in some of your waste rock. And once you have that, the likelihood of you encountering acid mine drainage may be high. And so it gives you a challenge as to how to even dump that kind of waste you are mining. So we are trying to let you understand the difficulty and the diversity when it comes to mine planning. And that is what we are discussing here. So the grade and tonnage of material available to determine how much waste rock can be stripped. And there is often an ultimate limit to the pit that is determined more by economics of removing overburden than a sudden change in the ore deposit from mineral to non-mineral bearing material. The ultimate pit limit and the slope of the pit walls are therefore determined as much as economics and engineering. So what we are also again is talking about is the pit limit. You know, we went through the processes, and so we start proper mining from development. Then we go to exploitation. So at that stage, when we are beginning to mine, the mine engineers or the mine planners will come up and say that based on the economics, the current gold price, how much items cost to start our business, I think we can only go this deep. And when we get to know that we can only go this deep, it helps us to define how we are going to take the overall pit slope angle, how we should take it. But then assuming we move on and along the line, we encounter certain geotechnical challenges, or we encounter certain things that is not giving us the information we saw in our exploration stages, things will change at the end of the day. So this is one of the challenges mine planning pose to us as engineers. And so as you are here today, these are some of the challenges you go through if you intend to be a mine planner or you want to practice as a mine planner. These are some of the challenges you would encounter setting up a surface mine. Then we have the typical large open pit operations that has been in production for 10 years and more, is operating under conditions that could not possibly have been foreseen. So it is saying that the typical large open pit mining operations that has been in production for 10 years and more is operating under conditions that could have. So again, they are drawing your attention to the diversity we encounter as a mine. If you start a surface mine today, the challenges you are going through today might have not been foreseen, or the people who started the mine 10 years back, they planned it and they took certain decisions based on what information was available to them, based on their prospecting information or their exploration information they had as of that time. And today, 10 years down the line, you are facing different challenges. And so what we are trying to understand here is that the whole operation or the whole idea of the surface mine implementation is something that is not static. Things begin to change. So your exploration is not the end of it. It doesn't give you all the information you need to run the mine till the end of the life of mine. No, it is not like that. But you plan today. It may even happen that the gurus that came up with ideas that let's do it this way, let's do it that way, along the line, they got better offers somewhere and they've left. leaving you with a job. And at that point in time, when you encounter the obstacle, you also now have to look at the obstacle you are facing and where you are coming from to come in with other ideas to solve the problem and forge ahead. So these are some of the challenges you would come across when you are planning a surface mine. So metal prices, the machinery and milling methods are constantly changing, so that the larger operations must be periodically re-evaluated, and several have been completely redeveloped from time to time as entirely different kinds of mining and milling operations. So as we go along our operations, the machines we bought 10 years back, 5 years back, maybe you started the mine using Volvo, that dump truck that has got the bonnet looking like a frog. Those are the ones you bought. Today you realize that due to certain demands you are getting in the job market, or the prices, the change in prices of the gold price, you think that now you can increase your production. At that point in time, your machines will have to change. Your dump trucks you bought, what's the name? The excavators you bought because you were using a smaller dump truck. Today, if you are thinking of changing the dump truck, you must also change your excavator. Why? Because the boom of the excavator has something to do with the height of that particular dump truck you are going to use. And so if you have an excavator with a shorter boom and you have a truck that is higher than that length of the excavator's boom, production will not be effective. Because if that excavator was supposed to load a truck within 3 minutes as of that time, now you've changed the truck, it's way higher than it. It gives challenges to an operator who is operating it, and then it takes so much time. Even sometimes the bucket size of that excavator will have to do a number of passes. When I say passes, they're asking fetching the materials and dumping into the truck, coming back, dumping. So that number of process, if it was one that was within its range, it may do this number of passes, let's say 5 or 6. But today it has to go beyond that in order to fill a truck. And so some of these things will change as you go along with an open pit mine. Then sometimes the preliminary stripping of waste overburden is contracted to firms specializing in earth moving. Yes, I know of Ben Wise. Ben Wise is into some of these surface mine soft contracts, where if you want someone to manage your reclamation for you, or sometimes if you want them to strip an overburden, you are thinking of going to a particular session to start operation, you can contract your surface material stripping, which you'll be using for your reclamation in the future. You contract that aspect to him, because you don't want to use the trucks you are using now to do proper mining to be doing that extra job. And so you contract that aspect of your work to them to do for you. So sometimes you have people doing that kind of job for you whilst you proceed with your other activities. So mining is usually done by a truck mounted shovels. So with this one, in our side of mining, hardly do we mine coal. I don't know if we have coal deposits in Ghana. I don't have an idea, and I've never heard of any too. But then I know in the US and other places, they have coal. And so, and since coal is usually found in soft environment, we have some machines called scrappers. So it looks like a bucket, a dump truck that has the belly opened. And so when it is mining, it wants to mine, you don't need to load it. As it goes along and it gets to the material, it opens its bottom like that and begin to scoop the material. As the bucket is getting full, it closes up. When it gets to its final destination, it opens up and start moving. Then the material will spread across the whole surface area where it wants to do the dumping. And so these are also some of the equipment that are needed. Some will be large, others will be small. Then the last thing, large bucket wheel excavators of the kind used in European coal mines have not been applied to metal mining because this equipment is best adapted to soft bedded, relatively flat lying strata. That's exactly some of the things I'm saying. So some machines may be used in other parts of the world, where in Ghana we cannot use that. Why? Because we think that our our rocks are very hard. We don't have soft materials here to mine with such excavators. And we even have excavators that use electricity. But in our part of the world, electricity is not as stable as that. And it's not that cheap because we are not the main producers of it. And so you cannot go and buy an excavator that uses electricity. If you do that, you spend too much. And so we rely on diesel for much of our activities in the mine.